I've talked to a lot of people who swear they saved a buck by picking the budget 5-channel speaker set that ships in a plain cardboard box. The disappointment comes a few weeks later. The surround effects sound thin, the bass is just a thump, and you end up Googling how do I fix my home theater sound. It makes you wonder whether spending a little more upfront can actually save you from that regret. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. That's the exact dilemma I faced when I started looking for a home theater upgrade for my modest-sized living room. My old US-powered soundbar was getting drowned out by the newer action movies I was watching, but I didn't want to plunge into a full-blown audiophile setup. I needed something that would take the cinema feel seriously, fit the aesthetics of a darkwood TV console, and not require a professional calibration. The Klipsch reference are 625FA 5.1 home theater pack promised Dolby Atmos height speakers, a solid center channel, 2 bookshelf satellites and a 10-inch powered sub. On paper it sounded like a everything-known solution, but the question was whether the package actually delivers a balanced soundstage in a real home. First off, the who's it for conversation. If you're a casual movie watcher who already has a decent 1080p or 4K TV and you want to add a tangible sense of height and directionality without dealing with in-wall installation, this kit is a good match. The two R625FA speakers are the only troop-firing Dolby Atmos elements in the bundle, which means they'll bounce sound off the ceiling to give you that three-dimensional effect. That works best in a room where the ceiling is at least 8 feet high and relatively flat, not a cramped attic with exposed beams. The included R41M bookshelf pair serves well as left-right front fills, and the R52C center handles dialogue with clarity, thanks to its 1-inch aluminum LTS tweeter paired with a Tractrix horn. The subwoofer's 300-watt amp and 10-inch Spun-Copper IMG, impeller-made Euro, cone brings the low-end punch you need for explosions without turning your floor into a trampoline. If, on the other hand, you're hunting for the most faithful audio reproduction and you already own a pair of high-end floor-standing speakers, you'll probably skip this pack. It's designed to be a complete system for the first step into surround sound, not a component upgrade for a dedicated audiophile listening room. Also, if your ceiling is lower than 7 feet, the Atmos effect will be muted because the height speakers won't have enough distance to reflect properly. In that scenario, you might be better off investing in a troop-firing tower or a ceiling mount Atmos module. Now, let's talk about the practical strengths that become evident once you hook the system up. I placed the R625FA speakers on top of 2 sturdy bookshelves about a foot from the TV, angling them slightly outward. The height effect was surprisingly effective. Scenes with aircraft or rain felt like they were actually coming from above, not just panning left to right. The magnetic grille on the front of each speaker is removable, which made cleaning a breeze and also let me swap the grille for a custom look if I ever felt like it. The black textured wood grain vinyl finish blends nicely with dark furniture, so they don't look like cheap tech junk. The center channel, R52C, truly shines when dialogue is fast-paced. In a recent action flick with overlapping chatter and on-screen subtitles, I could still pick out each line without cranking the volume. That's the result of the dedicated tweeter and its horn-loaded design, which reduces distortion at higher frequencies. The subwoofer, meanwhile, delivered deep, cinematic bass without the muddy quality you sometimes hear in cheaper 8-inch enclosures. The built-in crossover in the sub automatically adjusted to the rest of the system, so I didn't have to fiddle with crossover points, a big time saver if you aren't comfortable with manual EQ. On the flip side, there are a few hidden trade-offs you'll notice after a few weeks. The R41M bookshelf speakers, while decent, lack the bass depth of larger floor-standing models. If you sit very close to the front wall, the bass can feel a bit lean, forcing you to rely more on the sub for low-frequency impact. That's not a deal-breaker for most movies, but if you enjoy bass-heavy music, you might find the system underpowered in that department. Another practical weakness is the wiring. Each speaker uses a single-ended 14-gauge speaker cable that's pre-installed in the package, but the length is limited to roughly 6 feet. If your listening position is farther away from the AV receiver, you'll need to buy extensions, which can add a modest extra cost. The user experience with the included sub is also worth noting. The sub comes with a remote control, but you'll quickly discover that the volume knob on the sub itself is more responsive than the remote, especially when you try to achieve fine-grained adjustments. I found the sweet spot by setting the sub's gain at about 75% and letting the AV receiver handle the overall level. That approach prevented the bass from overwhelming the rest.